We're back in Italy with the Tour de Ski, and as per normal, the clouds have disappeared. Beautiful clear skies, temperatures nice and low. The track's in great condition for stage 5 of 7 of the Tour de Ski. I'm not sure this is where the Tour is won and lost. It's a time trial event, though, which does mean those who are freshers can pick up some valuable bonus seconds, but only the top 3 getting bonus seconds. Patrick Winston, Mike Dixon with you throughout the Tour this year. Looking forward to this stage, Mike. Really disappointed that Giorgio De Centa hasn't made it this far.
Well, back at practically at home for him, it is disappointing, but at 44-year-old coming up, not an easy task.
So they've made their way from Oberstdorf to Toblach. We're in the South Tyrol, as it's known now, a German-speaking part of Italy. And let's just remind ourselves what happened in Oberstdorf. In the women's, it was all about Stina Nielsen. She's finally found a way to beat the Norwegians over distance.
She's just unlocked her confidence as well by taking this sprint victory. She felt in great form on day 1, and she's really carrying that incredible self-belief all the way through at the moment.
Yeah, she started with a 4-second lead over Weng. She was 12 seconds clear of Østberg. And it wasn't long before the Norwegians caught up with her. But Nielsen playing a very clever game. The Norwegians invited her to take the lead. She said wasn't having any of it.
And you know, that was a strong strategy. She was saying, no, there's 2 of them. They can work together. I'm not taking the early work on.
And we thought, with this sort of cat and mouse going on at the front, that Parmakowski would have a chance of making contact. You can see Parmakowski in the distance, absolutely blown away over the second lap. And the Norwegians fighting Østberg again, doing most of the lead, but Nielsen with a brilliant pair of skis and actually brilliant tactics as well. She timed that burst to perfection. No one was going to touch her over the last 150. She picks up her 3rd win of 4 stages, and still we don't think she's going to win the overall Tour, but my goodness, she's made a name for herself.
She certainly has. And the Norwegian camp must be feeling in the female category a little down.
That's not my strongest card to play. It's the sprint, so I just wanted to be in a good position before the last downhill, and I was 3rd on the top and did a really good job downhill and had amazing skis, so it's amazing to win today.
Well, it certainly was, and I think she's a different athlete from what she was at the beginning of the Tour. She now believes in herself over at least up to 5K. It's going to be interesting to see how she does over the next couple of days. Well, it has to be said, it's great for the sport that the Norwegians have got something to think about. In the men's, Mike, it's a similar story. It's not the Swedes who are beating the Norwegians, it's the Russians. Ustiakov has had a tremendous Tour so far. No one has betted him on any stage. He was the first man to win the first 3 stages. He's now the first man to win the first 4 stages. And who says he's not going to win again today?
Incredible. Sundby did win 4, although they weren't consecutive. He did win 4 stages last year.
Well, again, we'll have a look and see what Ustiakov managed to do in Oberstdorf on the 2nd day of racing there. It was a pursuit start, and having won the first 3 stages, he obviously started first with a decent lead, and he was, 36 seconds clear at the start of the day. Second man away, of course, was Martin Jonsrud Sundby, and I thought Ustiakov played it very well, Mike. He went hard enough on the first lap to make the others chase him. He eased up on the second, whether he did that because he was feeling tired or whether he did it to just give Sundby some sort of hope. Then come laps, 4, 5, Ustiakov turned up the pace again, and Sundby couldn't live with it.
It's quite incredible, because Sundby did, we saw there, got it down to 17, then he got it down to 16 seconds, and we almost thought that gap is going to close. Then Ustiakov reacted and really found another gear. More energy,
and took it way back up to where it was at the start of the day. And with Sundby's efforts, he's Ustiakov, I should say, he's stretched his lead now to 42 seconds. It's looking very good.
До конца не верил, что меня Мартин не догонит.
I don't know how your Russian is.
Ехал и думал, что вот-вот он должен подъехать, но на последнем кругу, когда сказали, что я от него уезжаю, я начал переступать через себя.
Well, hopefully we'll get a translation.
Как
We're
никогда
not
не
getting anything
терпел.
over the
Гонка
cans.
сложилась очень тяжело.
Just assume he's saying my skis were good. I was feeling fantastic, delighted to win my 4th in a row. He's taken his tally of World Cup wins up to 10, 22 World Cup podiums now, and he is in a fantastic position. So that sets the scene for stage 5 today here in Toblach. The difference, Mike, today is a time trial. Traditionally, the time trials where the strongest skiers get to pull back the greatest margins. But it's short, it's freestyle. Can you see any more than 10, 15 seconds changing hands?
Not really, and when you historically, Ushchikov is very good freestyle skier. He's been in the top 5 positions of the last 6 10 or 15 kilometre free individual starts, but he's never won an individual start over this distance. So maybe the favour that swings back into Sundby's side of the table this time.
And being top dog in the Tour, he gets to choose his start position, and unsurprisingly he has decided to start last. So 44th, we've had a lot of withdrawals, a total of 37 out. We've got 44 left, 6 Norwegians, 5 Swedes, we've got 4 Russians, 3 Canadians and 3 Italian. Welcome back to Toblach. There you see the weather conditions, -10 because of the clear skies overnight, but with the low humidity it doesn't actually feel too bad, and so 26%, compare that to the 90% humidity they've got in Oberhof. Conditions very, very different. Now, a famous course, largely because this is where Great Britain have got their only cross-country World Cup win. 2 years ago, Andy Musgrave got the fastest time on this course. Now, in the old days, Mike, this particular leg of the Tour de Ski used to be the long chase from Cortina to Toblach up the hill. It's where Dario Colonia really made decisive moves year after year. Because of the snow conditions, that has had to change.
It has. It's disappointing, that start finish way over the mountain, way over the pass. Of course, the lack of snow again this year, and I think the organisers have just thought, okay, let's keep this simple and run it in a venue where we can control, or we can create the snow.
Are you surprised to see Dario Colonia, who's 4th in the Tour, deciding to start early on? He's drawn bib number 20.
I was a little. He had the option, his coach had the option to put him at the top end of that elite group.
Andy Musgrave going off 32, still lying 10th in the Tour. He's quite a way behind 9th, and he's got, what, 4, 5 athletes only a few seconds behind him. So a critical stage for Musgrave today. Let's hope that he gets some help from some of the other athletes around him and can produce a decent time. So we're live in Toblach for stage 5 of this year's Tour de Ski. Just 2 days of racing to go after this Saturday, Sunday, when we move to Val di Fiemme for the traditional finish of the Tour. This is always an interesting one, Mike, because ski quality and waxing preparation nearly always plays a big part on these courses, where it's a big climb out of the stadium for 2.2 kilometres and then a long descent back in.
It's an unusual profile, isn't it? So you've got all that hard work in the very first part, and as you say, mainly undulating and downhill. And I think last year we saw some of the athletes suffering through having a relatively poor ski glide on the way back down from the highest point on this course. I think Ushchikov struggled a little last year under those very circumstances.
Graham Killick will be first away for Canada. 14 nations left in the Tour at this stage on the men's side, and Canada obviously one of them. Glad to say the Americans are in as well. But the Americans are very strong in the women's Tour, and that's really where they've made their mark. They'll be hoping that Jess Diggins can do what she did last year. She was the winner of the women's 5-kilometre time trial. Jonas Baumann goes for Switzerland, 26-year-old, comes from Davos, and that's exactly where Dario Colonia lives, so he's got that altitude advantage. Do you think Colonia has had a good effect on the Swiss team, or would you have expected to see a couple more men rise to the top level?
I thought we might see more, because you get one successful athlete, you live with this guy, you train with him, and it creates a ripple through the team. They're good, the Swiss, but I had expected we might see another superstar coming through.
Perttu Hyvarinen for Finland, only 2 Finns left in.
Yes,
We've got Matti Häkkinen, who's actually doing really well. Häkkinen lying in 5th, so he's having a better tour than he had last year when he finished in 18th position. So he's the man that the Finnish fans will be watching and hoping for.
You mentioned Häkkinen, but also Cologne. Now, they have opted, so they're lying 3rd and 5th in the tour. And they've gone very early, and I think they've selected the mid part of this group so that they can get some drag-on factor if they start with the best at the back.
Salvadori for Italy. As we mentioned, Giorgio De Centa has withdrawn. He'll be really disappointed because he'd love to have raced on home snow.
I think he would have, and when you look at the Italians, we've only got 2 of them still remaining in this, and if we go back 8 years, 9 years, 3, remaining, De Fabiani as well, you know, some 7, 8 years ago, they were quite still a dominant force in cross-country.
Clement Parise comes from Praz-sur-Alli, which is just to the east of Annecy. I'm sure a few of you will have been alpine skiing near Megève. That's just about where he comes from. And at 23, still in the early days of his career, but he's a strong athlete, rangy, quick over the shorter distance. We'll see how Paris gets on today. Martin Jaks is next to go for the Czech Republic, who Jaks really his best back in 2011. I think it's fair to say 12 seasons on the World Cup Tour. 12 seasons. I was watching a thing on Noriaki Kasai last night, the ski jumper. 25 seasons, 100 four hills competitions. You only get 4 a year, so 25 full seasons at least. And he's still at the top of his game. Incredible. Now, Paul Pepin for Romania. Nice to see the Romanians doing well. This is his 39th World Cup, and he's got a PB of 18th, so he's no slouch. And maybe, if he gets the skis right today, he can do something special. Now, the smaller nations, Mike, and I include Great Britain in that one, getting the good skis. Your skis have got to be worth a minimum of 1%, probably closer to 5% if you're getting the best skis and the best preparation.
I think so, and I think Muzzy is well looked after in that front, and why wouldn't he be now ranking so high in this tour and overall this season? But the poorer teams do struggle. There is an imbalance in terms of your wax technicians as well. So it's never always a level playing field.
Yeah, the strong get stronger, the rich get richer. Same old story. Well, nice to see Larkov heading out. He was 16th in the Lillehammer Tour, so he'll be a little disappointed with the way things have gone. 2 Russians in succession. Melnichenko now, who's just 24. He's sort of making his way in the World Cup. 128th in the rankings last year. He's up into the top 90 now. And usually, if you're going to make it into the top 10, you're starting to show really good signs by your 3rd or 4th World Cup season. So he's got to sort of make the breakthrough.
Well, I'm surprised he hasn't, because remember when we commentated on him at the Junior World Championships, he was outstanding. I think it was 3 gold, 1 silver. He hasn't quite transferred that to the senior field.
Here's Victor Thorn for Sweden, who is another member who's trained and educated himself up in Torsby, which is where Tina Nielsen is based. So he'll be enjoying Nielsen's success in the women's tour. But Thorn's a youngster. He's only 20 years old, so expect something from him in the past. Here's Danny Rickardson, and you can see from the caption he's had a fair share of success. 3 World Cup wins. They've all come in classic style, Mike. 10, 15, and of course the Holmen Column 50, which he won in, 2014.
Well, that carries for the rest of his life, doesn't it, to win that 50 in the heartbeat of cross-country skiing.
In classic style.
Oh, brilliant. We went on to the marathon races last year, a lot of the time, Rickardson, but back to World Cup this year.
He'll be thinking of next year. And of course the Olympic Games out in Pyeongchang. And Eurosport, of course, going big on the Olympics next year. It's going to be very, very exciting days out in Pyeongchang as we watch Jens Berman making his way. Well, as you can see, there's no natural snow around. We're getting used to racing on these scare electric tracks, Mike. Actually, you know, for the downhill it's problematic. For the cross-country, where they've laid out a 2.5 or a 5-kilometre loop, there's a lot of work involved, but with the cold temperatures overnight, they can maintain the snow. And for the spectators, it's fantastic. You know, you just put on a pair of walking shoes and you can go to any part of the course you like.
And, you know, the venue, it's an investment. The tourists will be on this track later.
Quick start from Baumann. Max Hauke of Austria just starting the tour now. From now on, we have seeds interspersed with those lower down the ranking. So Nicholas Dierhaug, who's lying 12th in the tour at the moment, he finished in the top 10 last year, so he'll want to pick his game up. But this is not a leg that he did well on. And actually, someone like Dierhaug and a lot of the Norwegians, Mike, who tend to make more ground in the classic races than the freestyle, are suffering a little this year. For me, today should have been a mass start. I know we couldn't do it because of the snow conditions, but tomorrow, which is actually a mass start, because it's classic, that's the one to equal things up. That should have been a time trial. Give the good classic skiers a chance of pulling some seconds back.
Yes, I think if there's any criticism, it is the lack of or the percentage difference between the classic and this tour than past tours. You could argue it does favour the freestyle specialists. But there again, you're finding the whole idea of the tour is to find the best cross-country skier all-rounder in the world, and you need to be good in both disciplines. You need to be a good freestyler, especially in the last climb.
So, as Dario Cologna prepares to start, three-time Olympic champion, of course, he took 2 golds out in Sochi back in 2014, and don't rule him out of taking more gold when he goes to Pyeongchang. Of course, he also got a gold out in Vancouver as well in 2010. He's good at Olympics. I don't think he's done quite as well in World Championships as we would have expected.
He's a big, well, a World Championships is a big event, but when it comes to the 4-year event, the Olympics, I think Cologna has the mindset, the ability to take himself to that real place of hurt when it matters most. Ekström
of Sweden, starting just 30 seconds behind Dario Cologna. You saw Matti Häkkinen in the gate. Now Häkkinen, if he wants to stay in the top 5, has got to pull the stops out today. Tomorrow Häkkinen should be fine in the classic race, but it is a mass start, so I don't expect to see him losing more than a couple of seconds. Maybe the bonuses will be the only difference.
Well, you saw in the caption there his world champion win in 2011 in Oslo at Holmenkollen. I think he's got some of that form and the mindset back again, Patrick. He's only good normally for 1 or 2 races a season where he can win or challenge. This season, he's back as the real deal.
Yeah, he's picked up 48 bonus seconds compared to Ustyagov's 2 minutes 12. They're only 2 minutes apart on the ranking. So if you take away all the bonuses, Häkkinen would only be 30 seconds off the lead of the tour. And with the tour shortening, Mike, it's only 7 stages this year. Some of the distances are shorter. Again, we've mentioned it a couple of times. The bonus seconds need looking at.
It's very much loaded. Both success brings success, and if you're like Ustygov, you're winning 4 stages, you're hoovering up a lot of those vital, those important extra seconds. Maybe it should just be for the out-and-out fastest today.
Sjörotte, who was 6th overall in the tour last year, he's got some way to go to match that. Lying 14th at the moment, and started well enough, did well in the first sprint, but has struggled a little bit on the last leg. 13th position. We would have expected him to see him in the top 5 or 6 in the pursuit.
That was a lovely shot of him starting there. His incredible balance, huge force through each ski edge, and then lovely direct glide up the track, straight line up the track.
25, Alexis Généraux from Pontarlier, a little village. I think it's on the Swiss border, that's produced a lot of top athletes over the years. Again, it just proves, Mike, if you've got the facilities, you can produce the champions. If you don't have them, your chances are pretty slim.
You get the kids out in snow early, then you build the balance, the movement, and then they can be evolved, developed later. Bersmentnik, now he is one who is one of the athletes in this top bracket who is, I think, slightly better in classic than he is in freestyle. Well, he is. It's a fact.
Well, he's working very hard as we watch the best place Italian in the Tour This is Francesco De Fabiani, lying 15th at the moment. Just missed out on a top 20 in this stage last year, and a fairly conservative start from him. Slightly surprised that he's not pushing a little harder out of the gate. 10 kilometres the distance today, 5 kilometres for the women. And there aren't going to be many changes in the women's race. Actually, I think the top 3 last year finished top 3 in the Tour, and the only real differences were the time bonuses. The top 5 or 6 were only separated by 10 seconds. 16 is Tunseth. Now, how's he going? Just gets the green light. 1.4 inside, so a good solid start from him.
This course profile we mentioned, there's another little climb after this, and then it's an easier journey back down. You have to have a really good warm-up before hitting this first 2 kilometres.
Jean-Marc Gaillard going very well. Maurice Magnificat still ahead of him in the Tour, but Gaillard, the second Frenchman, and both of them obviously in the top 15. Gaillard, I was going to say 36 years old, Mike. Is he on the way down?
He's still, you know, mainly in the longer distances. I think he's got more possibilities of contesting for the podium. But he's one, I think I'm right in saying he's one of only 3 who have taken part in all 11 tours. He hasn't finished them all, but he's been here for now the 11th stage of the Tour de Ski.
Erik Bjørnsen, his sister, racing later on. I think she'll have a better chance of finishing in the top 10 than her brother as we watch Hans Christer Holland. Now, this man did really well on this leg, and I think that's why he looks so fired up. 5th on this leg last year. Another top 5 might get him into the top 10 of the Tour standings. Welcome back to Toblach. Maurice Magnificat about to start. A man who played a large role in getting Andrew Musgrave his first stage win in the World Cup. Those two worked together on this piste some 24 months ago. Magnificat, expect to see him produce something special today. Now, the good news is the weather's fantastic. The tracks are in good nick. We've got nice cold conditions, so nothing's going to change between the men and the women's race, although it will get warmer with the sun coming up over the hills. The bad news is that the FIS site has crashed. That's the one that we feed off to get all the live timings. So we'll be doing a little bit of guesswork as we go around. But what we can tell you is that Tunseth has the lead. 5:44 at 2.1 kilometres. That time tells you that it's predominantly uphill to that stage. Rutten just dropping into 4th place. That will do nicely for him. No damage done. Colonia only just outside that time. Kruger now. The under-23 world champion, over 15 kilometres free. He's a fighter. He's a terrier, Mike. This man's got a good future.
Oh, the Norwegians keep producing them. The club structure up in Norway, and so many skiing to school. It gives them a love for cross-country skiing. But yes, without a doubt, another great talent.
What I like about him is the way he uses his legs. Now, it's very difficult to predict what percentage of the power comes out of the legs, what comes out of the arms, but I'm absolutely convinced that that Kruger gets more out of the legs than most.
He was digging so deep. There's a little bit of loading comes with that through the quads when you go too deep. But yes, pick up your speed quickly, and that's what he did.
Now, we could have a new leader, De Fabiani. Well, he's well inside. That's a fantastic run.
That's a huge margin when the others, there's another 8 athletes within 3 seconds, and he's destroyed the field to this point.
Now, is that skis, or is it just hard work from De Fabiani? Maybe going a little bit too hard. We'll find out.
I think maybe just a little bit too much too soon, and then it catches you up later, even on a 10-kilometre race.
Marcus Hellner, who's got better and better as this tour's gone on, 13th to 5th to 4th to 4th. Is he going to get himself a podium today? He needs to. If he's going to do something at the World Championships, Mike, you just feel that he needs to produce a spark of brilliance before then to bring his confidence back to what it was in 2011.
As we said earlier, it is so much about the confidence. I think Hellner, though, he's in a good place this year, and The Swedes always get a very, very good final preparation to a major championships, so you do feel that he's still going to threaten medals at the World Champs this year.
Your opinion, minus 7, minus 8, the temperature at the moment. You can hear the squeaking of the basket on the snow. That is going to change. It will get warmer as the day goes on, and every half hour it's going to be maybe a degree warmer. Does that benefit the later starters to a degree?
I think it really does, because you've got the corrugated compression of the track preparation, and that is actually, when it's only recently been done, it gives more resistance. Now it's more powder snow as Alex Harvey starts.
Alex Harvey, number 40, with his best tour so far, 3rd position. He's just got Sundby and Ustiakov ahead of him. It's going to be a major task to try and catch them. The margin 1 minute 18 between Harvey and the tour leader. That's probably unrealistic, but he's still got some 40 seconds to make up on Martin Jonsrud Sundby, so that's going to be tough. 41 is Emil Vukiev of Russia, as we watch Holland approaching the intermediate time. 8.3 outside for Holland. That's a little surprise. He was 5th, as I mentioned, in this stage last year, so maybe he knows something about the pacing. Martin Jonsrud Sundby, if he's going to win the tour, Mike, what do you think? He's got to take 15, 20 seconds. He's got to take more bonus seconds than Ustiakov. That's given.
It's a given. I think Sundby's mission today will be to win the race, to pick up those 15 bonus seconds, try and destroy Ustiakov by at least 11, like he did last year on this track, and then at least he's back in the hope to win another Tour de Ski.
Noah Hoffman of the USA just about to start. Sergei Ustiakov will be the last man away. The Russian, by virtue of the fact that he leads the tour, had the choice of start position. He decided that later was better, and I'm not surprised. Musgrave coming up to the intermediate. Look at that, 0.9 outside, just off the pace of De Fabiani. Fantastic work from Andy Musgrave, and he's already taken 30 seconds out of Petrosedov of Russia.
That's wow, brave moves. What a strong guy, and he was a little down 2 days ago. He's back to his best, Muzzy. Well done.
So here goes the tour leader, and very few men lose from this stage of the tour. 3 legs remaining. Of course, he's got the Alchemise, and Sundby traditionally 20 seconds, 25 seconds quicker than Ustiakov on the big climb. So that's the margin that Sundby's trying to close it down to. Tunseth becomes the new leader at 2.1. So Tunseth, De Fabiani, Musgrave, the top 3. Magnificat started hard, and he is going to get the green light, so the lead changes yet again. So the French are back in control. France, Norway, Italy, Great Britain, the top 4.
Well, I'm wondering if Cologna's strategy is going to work, Patrick. We know he'd started, well, Pip 20. He was hoping to tie in with the back of the field with the Ustiakov and Sundby have started. Haven't quite seen if it's worked out. I think he will be in the mix there to try and get the drag-on factor behind the tail-enders.
Well, I've got Cologna almost 15 seconds behind at the moment. That's at 2.1. I know it's a 10-kilometre race. A lot will depend on the ski preparation. That long downhill back towards the stadium. We'll start to get the 5-kilometre splits very, very soon. Here come the first 2 starters. Killick having a good fight. Actually, they're coming into the finish. We've missed them going through the 5K. And Baumann obviously taking the lead, having started 30 seconds behind Killick. That is the target time.
Winning time last year was 22:07. I think we might see a little faster this year.
That, of course, was Finnhagen Krog of Norway, who's actually had to pull out of the tour. He was a spent force in Oberstdorf. So Krog, Sundby, Magnificat, Ustiakov, Holland, the top 5. Beloff, Cologna, Iversen, 6, 7 and 8 in last year's 10-kilometre freestyle here on these very tracks. Exactly the same course.
It was a little surprising for me. You mentioned Finnhagen there, day 3. It's unusual to be so exhausted on day 3. I know he came 3rd in the sprints, put a lot of effort in on day 1, and often that does catch up later.
Clement Parise, well, I must apologise, without the live timings, we're struggling to give you the positions of the athletes at halfway, and because the early starters are coming into the finish now, I'm afraid that's pretty much all we're going to see. So you'll have to guess as well as we do. So here comes Parise, 22:32 the lead time. That's going to change, and we're going to go. Are we going to go under 21 minutes?
Under the 22, I think we are.
We're going to go under 22. I'm wondering whether we're going to go under 21 eventually.
I don't think so. There's they're good timings. There's not much you can do on this track to create huge gaps. I think the winning time will be much like last year. The separation, I mean, in the top 5, there was only 18 seconds separating them.
Tunseth leading at 6.6.
Well, Cologna's done well. You mentioned he started slowly. Now he's only 2 seconds off the lead time at this stage.
Yeah, and Heikkinen, I think, will be happy. He knows how important this leg is. Is Heikkinen a strong enough classic skier to break the field tomorrow? Sumbi will be hoping that he can do it.
Heikkinen, I think he kind of favours his classic. He feels his classic is a little better than his freestyle. So I think he's got a good chance tomorrow, Heikkinen.
Harvey, 11 seconds off the pace, and just a little bit ahead of Dario Cologna, but perhaps not the sort of speed we're expecting from Harvey. Remember, he lies third in the Tour de Ski. We've still got Sundby obviously to come through that stage, and Ustiagov. Sundby will be first. Musgrave still right up there in the top of the rankings. 41, that's Vukiev. Sundby started 30 seconds behind him. Slightly surprised that we haven't seen the Norwegian in the background. He looks as though he's not made up much ground on Vukiev, and that's not good news. Here he is.
I thought when Sundby started, I thought he looked more nervous, more rigid on his skis than I've ever seen him. A man frightened, a lot of tension in his body.
Well, he's not getting the green light, but he's only a second or so outside. Sundby into fifth, 3.3. And just Ustiagov of the top seeds to come through that 2.1.
And this course, I think there's a lot of danger if you go too hard. We mentioned it earlier, up to that high point in the first 2 kilometres of a 10k. We've seen each year on this track that it can really bite you later at 8 to 10 kilometres.
Thorne is going to be close to that lead time of 22:17. But he's just a few seconds outside, started his sprint too late. Parise, that's a fantastic run from him. He's could well get his PB today.
And Victor Thorne, that's pretty good. What, he's only 20-year-old, 21 this summer.
Ustiagov, 7.1 outside the leading time. So he's playing a canny game as well. And we've seen him play with the field so far on this tour. He'll be, I think he'll be relatively happy with that. 7.1 the margin between himself and Magnificat. Danny Rickardson into the finish. 3 World Cup wins in his career. He's not going to get another one today. Already 10 seconds outside the leading time by Parise of France. And that 22:17 is looking better and better as this race goes on. But we've got 44 to finish. And, of course, the big names, the top seeds, all starting at the back end of the start sheet. 24.5 the margin for Rickardson. Well, welcome back. Here comes Tunseth, who was an early leader in this race, as he managed to match that 22:17 of Parise, who leads at the moment. It could be going back towards the Norwegians. It is Tunseth with a good finish, 2.4 inside. 22:15 now the leading time. Tunseth only 5 seconds off the pace at 2.1 compared to Maurice Magnificat, who set the fastest split time on that first split. We're not getting anything at 5 kilometres. We're getting limited information from 6.1, so we do apologise for that. And as we've already mentioned, the site, the computer site that gives us the live feeding times, that has gone down. So we're just looking at technique and predicting their performance. Here comes Magnificat now. This is interesting at 6.6.
Well, we saw he started well, he started strong. It looks like he's maintained that pure, utter drive and strength. He loves this venue.
Yeah, he knows he can do well here, and he's doing it again. And feeding off Magnificat is the Swiss athlete Roman Furger. Now, if only Musgrave had started just behind Magnificat, we could have had a fantastic effort. 17 and 18 coming in side by side. That's Hauker of Austria on the right, Dierhaug of Norway on the left, who's some 31 seconds quicker than the Austrian, but still a long, long way down on his teammate Tunseth, who holds the lead.
This looks like Cologne. Good news. We didn't see a split time at the top of the steep climb second time around, but I'm not quite sure he's going to challenge Tunseth.
Cologne was 15 seconds down at the very first split at 2.1. 20 seconds remaining. He's still got 100 metres or so to go. I think he's done good work over the closing stages. Mike round the final corner, under the barrier. Now he's into the 75-metre mark, and 7 seconds. That's going to be tough. He's got to go at the speed of Usain Bolt to match that. I think he's just going to miss out, but only just. Cologne into second place.
36 dancing its way up. It's the young talented Kruger. 6.4 at 6 kilometers. He maybe can pull some of that back from Magnificat.
Yeah, if you ever get a dog, Mike, I think you're going to have to call it YNT, young and talented.
Even when it's 15.
So, Heikkinen, wow, this is good, and he looks to be up on the pace of Dario Cologne. He could topple Tonseth's lead. He will do, surely, with just 80 metres to go. Heikkinen of Finland, who's had a tremendous season, got a good win up in Ruka earlier in the season, looked strong in Lillehammer, and he's looked good on the tour this year. Heikkinen into the finish, and the margin is significant, 9.9 seconds. That will do his tour chances no harm whatsoever. He lies fifth at the start of today, and actually he's still over 36 seconds behind Dario Cologne, Mike, so there's a chance he may get into the top four. I'm not sure how he's going to cope with Harvey. We need to find out exactly how Harvey's getting on. There are the standings at 2.1. That's history. We're interested in 6.6 because a lot of the big names have gone through that stage. And Ustiakov, actually, Mike, I must apologise to you. I saw it as a deficit for Ustiakov. I thought the red light was red. Ustiakov 7 seconds ahead.
7 ahead. Now, that's a huge margin at this stage, and you just feel that Ustiakov was trying to close that gap quickly on Jontrud Sumbi to make sure he's ahead in this game.
Well, if he ends up 7 or 10 seconds ahead of everyone, plus he picks up the bonus seconds, he's going to have a lead of at least a minute going into tomorrow. He's unlikely to lose much or any of that, so he could take a lead of a minute plus into the Alpchemise, the final stage of the tour. And if he does that, Mike, surely Sumbi's not going to take that off him.
It doesn't seem likely. I mean, this is advantage to Ustiakov to start 1 minute behind your main opposition. He's getting all the information.
Alex Harvey, 23.4 behind. That's not good news for the Canadians. It's great news for the Swiss, who are hoping to get Dario Cologne onto the podium at the end of this tour. Cologne, of course, who's won it 3 times.
This field is going to be so close, though. The margins are so small over just a 22-minute race here in Toblach.
De Fabiani's at least 10 seconds off the pace that we saw from Heikkinen, who had 30 seconds to spare going around this particular part of the bend.
I thought we'd see some athletes going under 22 minutes. In fact, we probably will if Ustiakov keeps that same pace. It's 22.05 winning time at the moment.
12.5 the margin for De Fabiani. Just having a look at his technique coming down the finish. I think a few people, Mike, have been watching Ustiakov and his skate 2 in particular. That's where you double pole with each of the leg actions. That short arm action keeps the hands very close to the side, and actually that enables him to keep the tempo high. I think a few athletes are already starting to copy him. Here he is, Ustiakov, who has closed down on Noah Hoffman of USA. So he's almost taken 30 seconds out of the American. And through goes Ustiugov. What's the margin? He was 7 seconds ahead of Magnificat. First time round, that margin is cut to 3.8. So he's got to keep that work rate up if he wants the win and he wants the full quota of bonuses.
Well, he needs his coaches around the track, because that information is vital, that he's losing seconds to Magnificat, but he'll only be worried about Sumbi.
Parise of France has done well. What about Jean-Marc Gaillard? He's outside the top 5, goes in a 6th position, and Heikkinen remains the race leader at the moment with a time of 22.05. Holland, Musgrave, Magnificat had nothing on Andy Musgrave so far, apart from the fact that he was in the top 5 at the 2.1 kilometre stage. And he started to tire at this stage of the Tour last year, Mike. We're hoping that this season he's got it all under control.
Very much. But judging by the start he's had today, he's looking back to normal. But without a doubt, he looked very, very tired 2 days ago. And what a difference a day off makes. He seems to be back in form.
Holland of Norway is going to be about 15, maybe even more than 15 seconds off the pace of the race leader.
Well, there's got to be some tired bodies out. Day 5 with just 2 days off.
Mit der 29er Rick Johnson aus den USA, jetzt ebenfalls im Ziel, Platz 18, und Holland kommt ins Ziel auf Position 9.
20.5, the margin for the man who was 5th last year. Well, we're expecting Andy Musgrave into the stadium in the next 45 seconds. There he is at 6.6, still holding his own, just 19 seconds off. And a good race today, Mike. If he can stay top 5 or 6, Musgrave's going to just move further inside the top 10 of the overall Tour standings. And that might give him a chance of finishing there. What do you make of Musgrave's climbing ability for the final day?
Always pretty good. He's he's such a terrier, such a fighter. Give him a challenge, give him a steep hill, and I think he will have an even better day.
Now this man could win. It's around 23 seconds from when he hits the first of the bollards on the corner, and Magnificat, by my liking, is well inside that at the moment. 25 seconds, he could have a lead of 10 seconds plus, and that might just be good enough to hold off the power of Ustiugov. Round he goes, 38 clear, so I've got him at least 10 seconds, probably closer to 15.
You can just tell by his movement, those legs are completely spent, but he's only got 120 metres left. Well, 75 now.
Great race from Magnificat. He deserves a win on this course. 9th in the Tour last year, lying 13th at the moment. This might well push him back up into the top 10. 16.9, phenomenal finish from Magnificat. 16.9 off Heikkinen. Now we've got Kruger, Hellner, Harvey, Sundby. We know that Alex Harvey's not going to challenge. He was 23 behind at the last split. We didn't see a time for Sundby going through 6.6, but he didn't look to be firing on all cylinders. So I think the only man likely to challenge Magnificat is Sergei Ustiugov of Russia, who's going to be the last man. Well, he may not be, won't be the last man in, because he's overtaken Hoffman, but he'll be the penultimate finisher here today.
And Sundby must be going through a world of discomfort.
Now this might be good enough for second place from Kruger, Mike. We saw him start really aggressively. We didn't get any splits of him going up the hill.
He's getting his maximum glide there before this final push. Well, I think he's going to be outside second place.
8th in the Tour standings, Kruger, and born in 1993. So you can work that out. 23 years old. He's taken 30 seconds out of Thomas Bing, who had a really good day. He had a good couple of days in Val Mustère, where we opened the Tour. Second place for Kruger, 16.2. So he was obviously getting splits on Heikkinen, and he's pipped the Finn by just 0.7 of a second. But it's good stuff. He might even be in the bonus seconds. Could be a first podium for him.
Well, that fight that man has, it just awarded him those, well, 0.5 of a second at the moment in second place.
Hellner's got a lot of work to do over the last climb. Hellner's at least Well, I think he's going to be 25 seconds or so, 20 seconds, let's say, off the lead of Magnificat. So that 22-minute barrier has been beaten, Mike, fairly significantly, but only one man has gone under it so far. Let's have a prediction on Ustigov's descent back down to the stadium.
He's such a fighter, Ustigov. He certainly lost. He's so tired. He lost on the climb. I think you'll find something special on the way back, but I still think you'll be some 8-10 seconds behind Magnificat.
Well, that's interesting. That means you think he's going to lose 11 seconds on the descent into the stadium. Remember, Valmester...
Well, he was 3.8, wasn't he, last check?
Yeah, 3.8 ahead. So, you know, when we saw him racing in Oberstdorf and Valmester, he was always good on the downhill sections. Could have been the skis, but I also thought he worked the terrain really well.
Yeah, I remember against Sumbi, he was losing on the descent. I think it was more his skis than his technique down into the stadium in Oberstdorf.
Well, it's like a training session for the Canadians, Kershaw and Harvey, who do many, many thousands of kilometres, one behind the other. This time it's Alex Harvey leading down into the stadium. He's taken 30 seconds out of his teammate on this course, but even Harvey is going to be some 30 seconds down, and that could jeopardise his third place in the Tour. He will be interested in where Dario Cologna has finished, and keep an eye on the screen. In fact, Hellner in fourth at the moment.
Actually, the computers have just started working at 8.4. Incredibly, Ustigov has turned his deficit into a positive. He's ahead of Magnificat by 2.4.
We'll just check 6.6, because I'm pretty sure he had a 3-second lead, but I was wrong last time.
He did indeed 3.8.
One each. So well done to Harvey, but a damage done. Dario Cologna at the finish, Mike. Dario Cologna obviously looking to go into third. He has finished some, 6-7 seconds ahead of Alex Harvey, and there was only 6 seconds between them, so very tight for third place. Cologna will miss out on bonus points. Here comes Sundby, and he's outside as well. He's had another bad day, and that might be the end of his chances of taking the Tour title for the third time. Well, he's won it 3 times. He's had it taken away once. That was 2 years ago, and I cannot see him winning this year, Mike, from a deficit of what looks as though it's going to be well over a minute, but he should be able to hang on to second place.
He just didn't seem composed today. He's not going to pick up any of those bonus 5, 10 or 15 seconds. A very bad day for Sumbi.
13th. Unlucky for some, unlucky for Sumbi, and he's had a disaster. Just the wrong stage of the Tour to be feeling bad. Ustigov, on the other hand, goes from strength to strength. 11 seconds. He's got 9.5 for the last 75 metres. He's going to be a couple of seconds inside. He had a 3.3 lead at 6.6, and he's just held it. Just held it. 0.4 of a second. Magnificat was magnificent, but Ustigov is even better. 1 and 2, Russia and France.
Never been done before. He's won 5 out of 5 this year. He won 3 out of 3, 4 out of 4, breaking the records. What a performance once again.
Well, the only thing that's going to stop him is chronic fatigue. Most of us would be feeling it at this stage after 5 races with such an effort. But, well, I'm glad to see him on the ground, Mike. That's the first time we've seen him in any state of exhaustion.
Well, he is on the edge there. He's had to... All the information was ahead of him. You could say advantage going last. He knew what he had to do, and this man can fight when he has to.
0.4 of a second. The coaches would have had problems giving him splits. Probably, they said, you're a second down, just to give him a little bit of a boost. And it's quite possible that at some stage of the descent into the stadium, he was behind. But a phenomenal effort over the last 200 metres gives him the narrowest of margins. The 24-year-old unbeaten in the Tour so far. That will be a little bit of history if he can win all 7 stages. Surely that's not possible. He's got to tire at some stage, and if he does, it will probably be on the Alchemies, the final day on Sunday. Well, it's easy enough to work out who's leading the Tour. We've got Ustiagov clear. Sundby Mike started the day 42 behind Ustiakov, so that margin is going to be closer to a minute and a half rather than a minute.
Well, yes, I think that's 1:33 that Sundby is now real time in the Tour behind. That's a huge margin.
Yeah, and now we've got a real fight for second place in the Tour, because Dario Colonia, I think, is going to go ahead of Harvey. Well, here are the results of today. Ustiakov, Magnificat, Kruger on the podium. Fabulous race from the Norwegian youngster. Heikkinen has a great day, and he'll look forward to the Classic tomorrow. Finishes ahead of Hellner, who's still getting better, Mike. Great news.
And Muzzy just tied up at the end.
Yeah.
I think he might have fallen because he lost so many of those seconds in the last 1.5 kilometre.
Yeah, that's really disappointing for Musgrave, but still he's in the top 20 again, and he's in the top 20 more than he's out of it. That takes some doing when you've got 6-7 Norwegians racing every time out, and of course 3 or 4 Russians as well. Well, the big surprise, I think, the failure of Sundby, Mike, to make an impression. He knew he had to make his mark today. Norway will be delighted that there's a new kid on the block. Kruger showed his fighting tenacity today. That was a brilliant start. He really went from it from the outset. The overall standings: Sundby 134 behind, Colonia 207, still only a second clear of Harvey. What a great battle for third. But I think they're close enough to Sundby to challenge him in the closing stages.
Sundby was a spent force by his normal high standards. Muzzy down to 12th,
yeah, from 10th to 12th. That's disappointing.
A little disappointing. It's still in real terms 12th in the world on the Tour de Ski is still an excellent result,
and a real opportunity to come back again, actually, because if he has a good climb on Sunday, the men ahead of him are only a few seconds. It's close, between 8 through to 15. The timing's very, very tight indeed. Erik Bjørnsen down in 42 ahead of Bixer of Latvia. He's hanging on in there, 14:43 behind at the moment. And there you see the World Cup points. Of course, top spot in the World Cup is now in jeopardy. If Sundby doesn't finish second in the Tour, he could well sacrifice the yellow bib that he's been wearing for most of the season. Dario Colonia still only up into 13th place, but I suspect we're going to see him getting higher and higher up the rankings. And Andy Musgrave, 18th in the World Cup standings. Brilliant. Well, that completes our coverage from Toblach for now. We will be back with the women's 5 kilometres. Again, it's in the freestyle, just one lap to be completed. And the big question in the women's freestyle, Mike, is can Nielsen open up a sufficient gap to be able to hang on to the Tour lead over the last 2 days?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. She's certainly a girl on form. This doesn't suit her quite as much as her 2 main rivals.
But most of the Norwegians didn't do so well today, so maybe Nielsen will feed off that. We'll see in just under an hour's time. Do join us for the women's 5, still to come.